Okay, and we have returned for the last run with the last AOA.
Oh man, the setup was brilliant. Hello everyone, I am the last AAOA, and tonight I will be dropping the base for all of you. It's going to be a super serious speedrun where we will kill the secret hidden boss halfway through the game and call it a day. I hope you're all as excited as I am.
I'm excited.
Without further ado, I'm good for a countdown whenever you are there, Erthar.
Sure. Then in 3, 2, 1, 0.
Oh, you got me. Great, so drop the base percent is a new and exciting upcoming category in the realm of Battle Network 6 Gregar things. It features a lot of the really exciting pieces of regular any percent. For example, resetting for Train Arrow and resetting for drawing for Train Arrow on Heatman, and all of the less exciting things like Capel Skip and the interesting glitches get cut out, so that we just get that pure Battle Network 6 experience to the fullest extent that we can. Thus, it's going to be real serious debut of a category speedrun for you all here tonight. I'll go out of my way to point out situations where I am making changes to the normal route when I can remember to do them, for the purposes of just getting to base as quickly as we can, because that's all chat really wants to see, is us drop the base. That being said though, I'm expecting lots of chat interaction, and I have punishments ready if you guys aren't hype enough for this, so just be warned now. You thought humor was bad earlier, I mean great. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Well, we already have at least one Piranha reset in the chat, so...
Oh good. Excellent.
I'll try to help explain some of the strats that Last is doing. Though, since it's not the full game, we'll only see a handful of them.
Yep, the beginning of the game will start off exactly the standard way, although we're going to take the Falzar approach to central areas, in that we're actually pretty excited about getting reflectors, rather than mock guns or running from encounters to save time, because those reflectors are going to set us up nicely for doing G-Beast charge shots for the actual base fight himself.
We'll talk more, I guess, about the base fight when we get close to it. But BN6 gives you a lot of tools to deal with the first form, at least, of base at the time that you can go fight him. And it's mostly in the form changes rather than the chips, but there are a handful of pretty useful ones, such as Reflector.
Mm-hmm.
So as for the first central area, he needs to get a Reflector 1 from the first encounter, which is great because it's useful for most of the run, at least the very early game, and you can still use it sometimes later. But he needs that to open the door to Central 2.
Wow.
And
there's a
you
boomer.
lose actually a surprising number of runs here. Ooh, you get the Boomer. Boomer's the best thing, I think, that you can get from the GMD there. You can also get Tornado or Zanny, I think.
Yeah. That's not the greatest fight ever. You can get bug frags also, which are unfortunate.
Yeah, bug frags are pretty useless to any percent.
10 rank? I got punished with a C, unfortunately.
So busting rank 10, you can get an A-code reflector still, but it's not guaranteed like it would be at S.
We really want the A-code for folder flow purposes. The main idea here is going to be use beast out charge attacks, which do an absurd amount of damage and also give us some ability to dodge base's attacks. And Folder Flow is going to be super important for that, since we only actually get 3 turns of beast out and need to fire 9 charge shots in that time to kill him. Otherwise, we're going to have to rely on like heat cross, and that's just going to be slow and risky. This is Gregar version. The difference between Gregar and Falzar for this particular category would literally just be that interacting with Heatman is going to be faster than interacting with Spoutman. So this will be the faster category.
You do still have to do their scenarios, yeah, so the Heatman scenario is just faster. And the super armor on the Gregar Beast Out is more useful than float shoes, or air shoes, sorry. Did you mention the reg ups already?
I haven't actually decided what I'm going to be doing with the reg ups. So copy damage is normally a super important component to this run, and we will go out of our way to get all the... Oh yeah, that was a really nice AI, Old Stove fight. Just get
very cooperative.
But we normally get as many reg ups as we need to reg copy damage, because it's a super important chip for the later half of the game. Specifically like the Sky Gauntlets, you save minutes by having copy damage regged. And early in the game, we want copy damage for the Kettle Fights. There's one fight in particular that you either need to draw a fire chip or slug through a whole bunch of nasty charge shots in order to finish. But we're not going to be going to the later portion of the game, so copy damage loses a lot of value. It can still be helpful, because we're going to take some fights in Greentown where it really starts to shine, and it can help with your Kettle Fights. But you can also, you start with Buster Up, which handles the fights just fine as well, if a little bit slower. And it's easier to reg, so we can actually skip a reg up 1 if we're willing to forego potentially regging copy damage to get through those few fights that we're going to have in Greentown without it. So entering the first dungeon, the Robo Control comps, we've seen these before, but we're going to be doing the usual extra couple firewalls in order to lower the chance that we're getting encounters. Yes, we want extra chips, but no, we don't want to like intentionally take extra encounters to get them. We're not that desperate.
Yeah, so the movement route in these has been improved fairly recently, actually.
Yep.
It's pretty cool now.
There's a bunch of
the
really
way you manage the firewall is you go out of your way a couple of times. Ends up being faster stepwise.
There's also a couple of really tight corner cuts where you can sneak behind the cube that normally you wouldn't be able to make. And if the firewalls cooperate, you can save a bit of time. Because as long as those embers are on screen, I am not able to get a random encounter, and my step count actually resets back to... one sec. What it was before I got the firewall. The embers started showing up. So we make as much use of that as possible to get out of this comp, minimizing our encounters.
It was a really good fight too. So our run rate at this point in this comp is still only 50%. Once he picks up this HP memory though, it does go up to 75. So generally the first fight in this comp, and most of the time there's only one at this point, we'll try to fight it unless it's really bad.
Yeah. Running with a 50% run rate, you're looking at like a 17-second long encounter on average. So if you can win the fight in under 5 seconds, it's worth it.
Yeah. Plus, it's oftentimes another chance at a reflector.
Yep. I might have done this well enough. For example, right there, not getting hit. That's some high-tech movement.
Oh, that one is really tight.
I'm going to wait around here, just because I'm standing on another trigger for a wall. And we want as many of those as we can get. If the firewalls cooperate here, we'll get out with a 0% chance of encounters. They did not, so there's about a 1 in 16 up ahead that I'll get a random encounter. Effectively all encounters at this point almost for the rest of the game are losing us time, so we dodged it, fortunately. And also, fortunately, the fireballs can't kill you. They'll lower you to 1 HP, but you can't die in the overworld in this game. Guess I have a bunch of junk.
Yes, this is a speedrun, though it's not any percent. We're going to be beating base as quickly as possible.
I was surprised by my own boomer. So the boomer chip that we got from the green mystery data early on helps a ton in a bunch of the upcoming fights. It's actually the optimal draw in a number of the forced fights that we have coming up, and in the seaside area where we're going to need a bunch of good fights. It also helps a lot later in the game with some of the late game bosses because it lays grass panels, and we tend to abuse fire damage a lot. It's less useful in this category, but still helpful. And unfortunately, we hit the 50-50 encounter before Blast Man, but that's okay. I'll actually go ahead and fight it because I want a reflector if I can get my hands on it.
And so the only requirement for fighting the first form of base in this game is being able to access wood area or green area too. So we'll only be doing that version because fighting any other version of base would be way longer than any percent.
And a quick boomer kill. Yeah, so we have to progress through the plot enough to be able to access Greentown. And once we can get through the door from Greentown 1 to 2, we will just go fight base immediately. Maybe, if you guys are good. I said I expected high hype levels, right, chat?
No, Ionosphere. I feel like we need an OK Boomer emote now. I'm gonna get on that.
I also wish I was super good at this game, Hey Blasty. Unfortunately, I am only the second place for the ending percent time here, with the illustrious Rish, who was running earlier, holding the world record. It is a super fun game to play though, so if you are looking for something casual to do because you found yourself with a lot of extra time at home in the upcoming days, would recommend Battle Network games.
Yeah, the Battle Network games I think still hold up super well. They've aged tremendously well. And they're super fun to speedrun, so...
I think the only reg up one we pick up is the popcorn one, right? Or the trash can one?
Yeah, so there's actually another reg up one in Aqua Rum 2 that you could grab and skip jacking into 6-2. Because that's a reg up 2.
And that's the one on the platform near in the center of the shark's wheel?
Yeah, and the sharks will pause while you pick it up.
Great.
So you have time to run up there and grab it.
So I will do that, and I will expect you to help me remind me.
Okay, you still have to do the little stall before the platform so that the shark comes around.
Yep. Great, then we'll skip copy damage altogether. Save some time. I think for the swag points, I'm going to buy the Recover 30s also.
Nice.
I don't want to die, chat, so we're going to make sure we have enough healing in the folder in case anything goes wrong. Oh, let's go through it.
You can always charge them too.
That would mostly be the reason why we'll be getting them.
Yeah.
So, I think Fat Kid was advertising earlier that we would be helping some penguins, or maybe pigeons, or pelicans. It's kind of unclear which. Spoilers, it's definitely a pelican. And that's the fun part of the plot that we're progressing through at the moment. As part of this wonderful, deep and engrossing plotline, we'll be encountering a couple of quirky characters and interesting sprites, so I'll pause for a moment in a little bit to let you guys enjoy the full majesty of what is colloquially referred to as bathroom splits. Also, shortly we're going to be approaching Seaside, where the inevitable train arrow debacle will occur. I had a new personal best of 22 encounters until train arrow a couple weeks ago, so we'll see what happens. In the meantime, this is one of the forced fights that we really want to draw Boomer. It's just straight up the optimal draw, instant kills everything. Unfortunately, unlucky. There's the pelican in question, for you all to enjoy. We'll make fun of Mick about it later.
Do you remember the pelican's name?
Oh, they name it?
It has a name, yeah.
Not a chance.
Does anyone in chat remember the pelican's name?
Bonus points to anyone who can name it.
It does start with a P.
Peter the Pelican. Plata!
There you go.
You know? That does ring a bell. Nicely done, Rish.
Make for a good Quiz King question. I have to write that one down.
There's a bunch of fun little things you can discover like that.
Yeah.
Like the discovery that Circus Man V1's tent does 69 damage is pretty delightful. Alright, so naturally we're blocked from progressing towards where we need to go because somebody lost their plunger. You use plungers to plug leaks, especially on the internet. Fortunately, our toilet had some problems, so maybe the solution lies within. Chat. Ooh, what's that? It's a Metar with a plunger on its head. Alright, let's kill it. I really want to make like a the palette shifted V2 or Metar V2 and V3.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
You could maybe even change the plunger color for style points.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too. That'd be a fun project. Maybe we'll do that.
Alright, so up to this point, the deviations from the route that you've seen is we've kind of tried to get a couple more reflects, and it hasn't gone the best, but that's okay. We've also skipped exactly copy damage. Rest in peace, copy damage. Probably that and M-Boomer are any Battle Network 6 speedrunner's favorite chips. You saw a little bit of copy damage used in Battle Network 3 earlier during the races, but in Battle Network 6, it's just phenomenal. They extended the duration, it pierces all defenses, with the exception of the occasional pulse bulb. And it even copies over elemental weaknesses, which is just super happy. Oh, don't tell Train Arrow it's not a favorite. Yeah, speaking of Train Arrow, at this point we're now progressing to the under BBS. I'm gonna roll this. We're now heading, not the under BBS, the Seaside BBS, and on the way there's a certain chip that we would really like to get our hands on. That being Train Arrow. We're going to need it to get through a gate in the future. It's also one of the best boss killing chips that we're going to get our hands on early. The problem is every one of these encounters has only a 24% chance of dropping it, and that's if we do the fight well. In that particular fight I just did, we didn't see any of the piranhas at all, so there's a no percent chance. This one we've got one, but fortunately we've got a boomer, so it'll be nice and quick. And unfortunately we didn't get the chip. So we'll have to do a little bit of grinding for that in a moment. The BBS tells us that, surprise, surprise, the penguin is from the aquarium. Yeah, the world record time has progressed down pretty significantly in the past. I don't know, like any stretch of time, there's been significant improvements for at least as long as I've been around. There's always another fun little discovery that helps to drag time down a little more, or some more minor strat optimizations. So I'm going to take a detour here because we didn't get the train arrow to the fish sticks comp. Inside the fish sticks comp, instead of a 24% chance of getting the chip that we're interested in, there's a 50% chance. Every one of these encounters features exactly the virus that we're interested in, these piranhas, and then provided we get a high enough busting rank, they have a 50% chance of dropping the chip. Unfortunately, we are just gated until we have it. So that Zenny, not going to do me any good. Instead, I'm going to run around in circles until we get what we're looking for.
Yeah, unfortunately, train arrow is the second absolute requirement for continuing the game. The other one being Reflector 1. But Reflector 1 is literally 2 minutes into the game, or 3 minutes into the game.
So far,
I mean, this one's what, 18,
yeah.
19?
Yeah.
Not so bad either.
There's no way they will line
up. There is a gate in Seaside Area 2 that prevents you getting to Seaside Area 3 and only opens if you have Train Arrow in your folder. Or not your folder, in your library.
There it is. So we take a bit of a time loss because we had to run in circles while we got that encounter, an eventual chip, but we got the job done. Yeah, shoutouts to my fabulous reset emote. Alright, and I wanted to get that chip when I did because we're gonna take an edit here in a moment to put some of our newfound power in, which includes the Navicust. And it's an excellent opportunity to add in our lovely train arrow. Take this and put in this and that. Also re-reg crack shot.
I'm literally sitting here thinking of Falzar route changes. Like,
oh, please. I'm excited about Falzar things. So my pet project lately, I've been a Gregar runner for the past lots of years. 6 years at this point?
It's been a while now, yeah.
7 maybe even? And recently I picked up Falzar. The major difference is simply that in Gregar you're going to get Heatman as your cross Navi, and in Falzar you're going to get Spoutman as your cross Navi. So that means that the scenarios that you're going to go through are different. We'll go through the Heatman scenario in the near future, and you'll see that it's actually like delightfully fast. And Heat Cross is a little busted. Spout Cross is a lot less so. So you have to take do a couple of changes along the way, and the fights get a little bit more technical. I mentioned previously that there's like this 3-turn limit on your beast out, and that actually carries between fights. So when you're doing a long gauntlet, which there are a number of 5 or 10 gauntlet fights in a row during the gauntlet phase of this game, you can't just beast out every time and kill everything. One, beasting out animation itself can be kind of slow, so if you draw better chips, that's a nice solution, but mostly you just always want to do it, and deciding when to not beast out is a significant strategy. Also, this is the point in the plot where a 6th grader successfully engages with every academic experience he can have in an aquarium, and that naturally triggers a terrorist attack.
Except the jellyfish.
Except the jellyfish, correct. Maybe if we talk to the jellyfish, it'll just
and the dolphin.
Skip the whole scenario.
Right. The jellyfish were jealous. It's their fault.
Or maybe we won't have to go get the copy bot because the jellyfish won't be in the tank.
Yeah, they'll just let Lan in.
Safety hazard for roller skates in the aquarium? I have bad news for you. Skytown's a little worse. Roller skates on a on a platform suspended a mile in the sky.
Also, don't mind the one dolphin that's not in a tank already. It's just standing there staring at the sunfish or something, I think.
Alright, so terrorist attack, successful. And let's see if this 6th grader can save the day. Spoilers. We can. There's some really, really technical movement coming up. Because of the isometric view of this game, you actually don't want to walk horizontal. Your X value only progresses one point, whether you're moving horizontally or diagonally. For example, up and right versus right, you're moving right at the same speed. So you might as well also be moving up whenever you can. That's why you'll see me cut these corners a lot when I'm moving horizontally, so that I can minimize the amount of time I'm spending doing that. Also, in that section that I just went through, there was a penguin that I had to cut back and cut through, and a turtle. And they have annoyingly large hitboxes, and you're coming right off of a corner. So whether or not you can like turn the corner properly for those can... It's one of those really minor, like 2-3 frame optimizations that just feels so good if you can hit it.
Mm-hmm. The penguin is like 1 or 2 pixels you can be in to get by him. We call that penguin skip. It's very serious business. Saves a lot of time.
That's a good point in chat, that if Lan's mom knew what you did, you'd probably be grounded. She definitely knows, but she must always just assume that this is going to be the last time it happens, right? Because every time you save the world successfully, she definitely hears about it. And then it's like, okay, but that's never going to happen again, because this isn't Die Hard universe. They're the same main character isn't saving the world 20,000 times in a row. Also, the one time when you totally lie to her in BN5 about where you're going, she knows. She knows, chat. So this is the aquarium comps. This is one of the contributing factors to why the world record time has dropped so much recently, is we discovered that you can actually just never get an encounter in any of these comps. And the reason for that is, in case you weren't paying attention to the mandatory biology marine science lesson earlier, they give you some cliff notes. You can press the L button to switch to land to go find out fish facts whenever you want, which I'm going to do right now. Of course, I already know all of the fish... Oh, Aquarum, thank you. I already know all the fish facts we're going to need. But when you switch to land can't get in an encounter, so they just reset your step count to 0. And then when you switch back, it stays 0. Meaning we're never going to get an encounter, provided I press the L button and switch before I have any chance of doing so.
Reminder, if you want just like a free HP memory to buffer your HP with, there's one on the little ladder at the bottom. Like down under where you jack in.
I think I'll not.
I don't know if that will give you another hit or not. We'd have to do math.
I think let's get
also, don't forget the reg up in Comp 2.
Comp 2, yeah.
One of these days, we should actually look at Drop the Base and see if it's worth getting a couple extra HP memory or not.
I think the problem is with his Buster attack. That's like an unpredictable amount of damage. Do encounters have any specific amount of steps? Yeah, so every 64 frames of movement, there is a check on whether or not you get an encounter. And every area has a lookup of how many checks has there been, corresponds to what the percent chance of there being an encounter. So pretty much every area you can move 8 checks worth of 64 frames for some number that I can't do off the top of my head at the moment, of never get no encounter chance. And then after that, it rapidly ramps up from 1 in 32 to 1 in 16 to etc., usually capping out around like 40%. So it is possible, and that's why you'll see Tasses do it, to never get an encounter, because it's never actually forced that you get a random encounter.
We should mention at this point, probably, that the sharks in this comp always do the same thing, provided that you always do the same thing. The gray ones vaguely try to chase you, and the red ones have a completely fixed pattern, though they do move slightly faster.
Yeah, reg up's coming soon. Thank you for the reminders. I also didn't get punished. That minor movement glitch you saw me have where I ran into the wall actually gave me a chance at an encounter, but it was an incredibly small one and I knew it, so I took the risk and got lucky. And now we're going to pick up this reg up. And that will let us reg Buster up, which we'll need in an upcoming scenario. Yeah, encounter manipulation in general is a huge factor in this game. We get all kinds of tricks in pretty much every dungeon and most overworld areas for reducing the number of encounters we have. We had the firewall stuff going on before. In this comp, we have switching back and forth. The Element Man comp, we have Slip Run, which is actually not going to be picked up in this drop the base percent at all, but it lets you lower the number of checks you have because you can move faster, and or the game actually decides if you're running or not based on whether or not you're holding the B button down, and we get a program that lets us run without holding B. So the game thinks we're walking even though we're running, and that saves us a bunch of encounters. And I'll show off the trick for what happens in the green town later on in the run, because I heard there was some excitement about that. So that might be one of the things I give you guys as an extra treat, even though it wouldn't normally happen in this run. And I think Rish actually added it up once. The minimum number of random encounters you need to beat the game is 2, because we do need to get a Reflect, and we do need to get a Train Arrow. You could also get by with 1 if you were going to like manipulate getting a Train Arrow from the Chip Trader, which you do have access to before you need it. That's just extremely unlikely, and so not feasible outside of doing a task or some memory manipulation. The most you could get on our route is like 51. Given that each encounter costs at least 8 seconds and usually averages to 15 to 20, that's an incredibly large range and makes up for like a lot of the differences in times that you'll see people post.
Yeah, encounters really do make up the most of the variance. It's random encounters. To some degree, chip draws specifically on a few different fights.
Yep.
Including Dive Man.
Yeah, so up ahead here,
coming up soon.
Dive Man is annoying because he likes to hide underwater and doesn't have a consistently counter-hittable attack. You'll notice we kind of dismantled Blast Man because I could counter every one of his attacks so that we're hitting for double damage consistently, but Dive Man is much less cooperative. Although there he cooperated very nicely, and I appreciate it, Dive Man. I'm actually gonna just hit, okay. Take these swords. Actually, he just attacked again. That was wonderful. This is gonna be a very fast kill without drawing our good chips.
Oh, that was so good. So yeah, you can kind of manipulate Dive Man's AI a little bit and tell him to go to specific panels based on where he is, which is how Last kind of convinced him to come to the front there when he had swords.
Mm-hmm. But you can't manip him into attacking. Every time he moves, he has a 1 in 3 chance to lob attacks that you can then counter hit, except on every 4th time he'll always do that wave that you saw. But so it was just pure luck that the times I had chips ready to go to hit him, he decided to attack and I could get the counters. There is a tutorial. Aerithar actually has one posted up on YouTube that's a good introduction, although it's missing a little bit of the latest tech. I started a Twitch streamed tutorial series that you can find on my channel. It's not quite finished yet, but it's through easily the first half of the game on some of the more advanced strategies that you can employ for like making your draws more likely to be useful and what draws are useful where and how to avoid encounters, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Thinking about more specifically on how the encounter checks and stuff work. There's not a write-up on it, I don't think. But there is a Lua script for VBA, I believe. It'd be something to inquire about on our Discord server, as there are people there who know a lot more in depth about it than I do.
You can find me at TheLastAaoa on Twitch. Aerithar is Aerithar. And he also just dropped a Discord server, so there you go.
Yes. So Last channel name is what's on screen. It's him on Twitch. I think your YouTube is the same.
I have not done anything on my YouTube in forever, so if you go there, I have no idea what you're going to find.
And if you search Aerithar, which I'm the one who just posted a Discord link in chat, you should find me on Twitch or YouTube if you're interested in that stuff. And also, if you have BN6 questions, you can always at me on Discord. I'll try my best to answer.
Alright, so these are the Kettle Fights, all as part of the Heatman scenario. Those Kettle viruses, we need to do 100 damage points in total, and it has to be Fire Element. They ignore all damage that isn't Fire Element. Fortunately, Heatman gives us a default chip of his Heat Press, which does 70 fire damage, and with a counter hit setup, that easily takes care of them. So the whole strategy behind these fights is to use that Heat Press and chain counter hits to the best of our ability to clear all of the battles practically instantly. I missed an edit? No, I didn't. Can I still reg copy damage? No, I didn't pick up copy damage. That'll make it hard to reg. I have 1 less megabyte than is required to reg copy damage, which is the exact amount that we're going to need to reg Buster Up, which is the other possible way to handle the third Kettle fight with any degree of speed. Also, the kettles heal very quickly, and this is extremely annoying. So you're going to have to do a couple of charge shots. It's possible to actually do the charge shots without Buster Up, but it's really slow. So each one of these that I'm applying is about 20. And so it was 20, 20, 60, and he finishes off. But if you're doing it without the Buster Up, you're adding like 5 points of damage each shot in total.
Yeah, it takes a long time. We used to do this scenario without anything rigged. We would just keep crack shot the whole run. It was miserable. And we have Last actually to thank for the copy damage strats.
Terrible draw, but that's okay. So ideally, we would have drawn Train Arrow here. Train Arrow effectively one-shots Heatman because he is weak to the attack, and when you have the counter hit ready to go, it deals 300 base damage, and since he's weak, it deals a lot of damage. But fortunately, actually, that Reflector draw was really nice.
That was a really good Reflector, yeah.
It should just be dead.
Oh, it double hit him, oh my god.
Oh yeah, Reflector double hits there, because Reflector travels one tile per frame, and because I counter hit him, he was forced back to his square.
That was actually a really good fight for no Train Arrow.
It was about as good as it gets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, and I'm going to try and do a trick here. We'll see if we can get it. No, in fact, I got the worst possible. So, you can't actually fire chips off all that quickly in this game. There's a limit on how fast you can actually launch your attacks, and by pausing the game, you override that limit because the internal counter that's saying how long you have till you can launch your next attack is counting down even while the game is paused. It also helps us buffer a forward movement in order to launch the attack on the proper square as quickly as possible, and the idea is you can actually take out those Metars before they get their shield up. Unfortunately, I managed to hit them while both of their shields were up, which should not be possible, but is when you try this trick. Oh well.
So you can actually do that so fast that you can put both fire hits on the first Metar with pause buffering.
Yes.
There is a window where you can do it without pause buffering, but it's only like a frame.
Yeah, it's possible to mash it, but it is real hard. Alright, and that was the entirety of the Heatman scenario. If we were playing Falzar, we would still be catching fish.
True.
And I'm gonna skip Element Trap, and it's gonna feel so good. And that's it, chat. 3 lotto codes. Normally we would get a 4th there, Element Trap, which is helpful for a number of fights that I will not be participating in. Challenge runs for Battle Network games are pretty solid. I recently did an all bosses, no extra HP, and like no defensive chips run, and it went really well and was quite fun. So I would recommend Element, and then I actually like keeping Boomer in.
For BN6 no hit, I would probably recommend actually Falzar version. It's the Heat Cross Buster locks you in place for a long time. So I feel like the Aqua benefits would be more useful.
So you might have noticed that the Navi customizer in BN6 is a little bit more of a suggestion than it is in other games. We definitely put the attack +1 on the middle line, which you're not supposed to do, and Bust Pack is kind of off the screen. But it's okay. This just gives me a Buster bug, which means when I fire my Buster, there's a chance that it's a charge shot, there's a chance that there's a normal shot, and there's a chance that it fails to fire. Other than that, I'll suffer no ill effects, and we'll get to go nice and fast.
And in fact, it doesn't actually affect charge shots or either the Beast Out Buster, so it usually does literally nothing. Buster bug is not that big a deal in 6.
Yeah, there's a bug fix chip There's also a bug fix program called Bug Stop. As long as you have Bug Stop on your command line, you will have no bugs, and it's definitely something that I think almost everyone abused casually when they realized that they could put things over the edge, because it just gives you more free space, more or less. But a number of the bugs are really not that bad.
Why is there plants tag in the stream? Partially a meme, partially because there's the hospital scenario in BN3, which was run first. It's mostly inside meme though. But there were plants in the stream, so. Alright, in 6, Bug Stop is not a 1 square program, it's quite large.
Yeah, it's 6. Think a Tetris L piece with 2 little knobs sticking off of it. Yeah. And if you use the compression code, 1 knob goes away. So this is the Soul Up scenario. We're going to get to do this only 6 times, because we're not going to go to the last set of puzzles in the Undernet. We just gotta go through and kill these spirits. As a casual player, these puzzles were fairly fun, because there's a lot of different mechanics going on with you have to conserve your weapons, and if you hit things from behind, you kill them in 1 shot. And from a speedrunning perspective, they're actually starting to grow on me, just because you can really harp on perfect movement and perfect execution. Since you have all this downtime, every time you launch an attack, you're frozen there watching the animation. It gives you a chance to just, okay, I'm just gonna barely move up. Like, that was really good movement by me right there, because I barely moved outside of where I needed to go next.
Mm-hmm. That close one with the axe and the sword at the start of the area is really good for that.
Yeah.
There is one of them, I think, that has Bug Stop as a 1 square program. I think it might be 4 or 5. It's one of those 2.
It does sound bonkers.
You couldn't place programs outside of the walls in 4 and 5 though, so it wasn't that big a deal.
So Mega Man decided to eat the dog, more or less. And now we gotta go borrow Heat Man to go get us some water, because after you eat a large dog, you probably need to wash it down with something. This is also where we would absolutely have to have Train Arrow by. After I do the first set of Soul Weps, we're going to have to go through a gate that checks to see if we had Train Arrow. If I didn't have it at that point, I would be forced to run back and forth as Heat Man until I got the chip. Which has not yet happened to me with Heat Man, but it has happened to me with Spoutman in the recent future, or recent past. Recent future, great, just cursed myself.
To be fair, Heat Man and Spoutman can run away in Seaside, but the odds of getting one are still not ideal. I think you've done, you or Rish have actually checked odds, haven't you?
Odds for each individual encounter in this comp, it's a 24% chance that a Piranha's table is rolled and you'd hit something that would give you Train Arrow if your rank was high enough. So, on average for encounters, but averages, probability likes to laugh in the face of averages sometimes.
Makes sense, Twilight. MBN for the programs didn't have compression codes, so that's probably why it's smaller.
isn't required to be on the command line is a nice boost. I definitely ran into problems of not putting bug stop on the command line and not realizing what the problem was. So earlier, I had to open one of those security cubes, and you might have seen me just like pause the game, open up my folder, and then immediately close it. That's because the cube disappears if you open up any other menu. But for that particular one, instead of having to stand there and watch the animation, we can go out and take care of one of these evil spirits, so it's a little faster than waiting. And now we're getting to the door fights. These are another, just like a quick little gauntlet of 3, and we're just going to abuse the ridiculous power of crack shot plus heat press to torch them. Some of the more fun fights in the game, in my opinion, once you've really figured out how the mechanics work.
I seem to recall, on the topic of programs still needing to be on the command line with bug stop, I seem to recall an Avid customizer setup that was discovered early in when people started really getting into PvP in the N1GP community, where it was actually better to have an uncompressed program because a little knob stuck out in exactly the right spot to make it hit the program line. In like a really cramped Navicus setup.
Wow.
And then there was another situation where sometimes you didn't want a maxed SP chip because it would like barely not trigger rage. The PvP is a very different world. I don't know a whole lot about it. I bet they've found lots of other interesting stuff like that since.
The PvP community brought us one of our Blastman EX strategies. As we discovered that there's a chip in the game called Black Bomb. It does a whole bunch of damage if you hit it with a fire element code, or chip. If you land it on top of an enemy, it does impact damage. And if you land it on top of a fire element enemy, it does impact damage and explodes. The problem is when that enemy is a boss, they'll get iframes. So, if you apply White Capsule to your Black Bomb and land it on a fire element Navi, they will take the impact damage and the explosion damage. And that is actually a fast draw against Blastman EX.
I actually did not know that, but it makes a lot of sense. That's really cool.
And that was something that community had discovered, so it's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we don't ever take White Capsule out, do we?
I do when I feel like I have an extra chip to take out. That's one I go for. It doesn't save terribly much time over just using the Black Bomb, but it does save a little. Alright, so we got Mega Man his drink of water. And now he turns into a werewolf. I think is more or less the plot.
I believe so, but I've been reading Moon Runes for a long time, so...
We also had an interesting discussion. So this is the Beast Out ability. And how do you past tense that, Arathar? Is it beasted out, or is it beast outed?
I think it would still just be beast out for past time.
Interesting.
That is my take.
These are the important topics we get up to, chat.
If you had to change it, beast it out, I think it's more correct.
I agree with that. So this is the last boss that we are going to face before base, chat. I hope you're all excited. We'll get a brief, succulent taste of that heat cross power, and then never use it again, except on a couple of random viruses.
Yeah, this is a very good showcase of exactly how the rest of the run would go if we were doing normal 80%.
Done. 3 charge shots and a boomer for good measure.
Boomer makes this fight actually so fast.
And it's
really fast anyway. But
it's the same speed as M Boomer, actually.
Yep. Saves you 2 charge shots, I think.
Yeah, something like that. So we do have a tiny bit more plot to do.
M Boomer plus 10 would save you an extra charge shot, I believe.
Yes. M Boomer leaves them with 10 HP. So we have a little bit more plot to do. We have to like start this tournament where they're going to select who gets to be the super cool Expo Navi or something along those lines. I don't remember. Mostly we're playing hide and seek, and the final answer is the classroom. So naturally, everybody who's not allowed in a school classroom, which good thing this isn't happening during any virus outbreaks or something like that. It'd be terrible. I guess I don't need as... Why am I buying sneak runs?
Boomer is not mandatory for runs, but you get M Boomer from the number trader anyway, so
I know I did that.
It's helpful.
Alright, I'm gonna stock up on a couple recover 30 stars real quick. Yeah, fortunately Boomer is not mandatory.
Yeah, but very few runs actually get Boomer.
The odds that you see a green mystery data... I'm not remembering where to go at the moment. The odds that you see a battle mystery data in any of the encounters that you get in Central Area 1 is 1 in 24. There's 12 different fights that are all evenly distributed, and if you roll the fight that can have a green mystery data, in that particular area, there's only a 50-50 chance of it showing up. So you're 1 in 24 right off the bat for seeing a green mystery data altogether. And there's only really one encounter that you would even want to fight it for. And then, in order to get Boomer or Tornado, which are the only 2 useful chips, you're looking at a 50-50. Otherwise, you're going to get Zenny, which the Zenny saves the time back that you invested into the battle, or Bug Frags, which is just straight time loss.
Mm-hmm. You can actually get battle mystery data in Robot Control as well, and it's the same tip.
Oh, that's true.
Although I haven't seen one there in like years, so
that's a kind of awkward fight because it's Champion Metar Gunner.
Oh, it is that one.
Yeah, and they're kind of awkwardly arranged, so it's difficult to clear quickly.
Okay, I probably have seen that fight, but also there's 3 viruses, so I just ran away without looking at my chips.
Here's the next major route difference. So you saw me buy a couple Recover 30 stars. In Falzar, you can actually do that. I've routed it in because it helps since you're beasting out so much. But here we're actually going to skip the unlocker, which is also a Falzar strat because Black Bomb doesn't really help much in Falzar. Normally we'd be grabbing an unlocker to get Black Bomb once we can get to Greentown. But Black Bomb is really just bait when you're trying to fight base. You should never be in a situation where it's correct to pick Black Bomb.
I really want to play with picking up a Lex Sword in Falzar.
I do too. I figure it's like 15 seconds of time to go out of your way to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Did I practice this category before the run? If by that you mean, have I ever beaten base? The answer is yes.
There was that one time I think that you practiced base a bunch.
I did,
But
because I had to beat
was
him with
not-
140 HP.
Yeah, but that was not recently, right?
Correct. Base is easy. Now, because I decided to buy those extra chips, I am going to have to pick up some extra money. Normally, money just doesn't matter at all in this route, to the point where here is 3,000 zenny on the ground 2 seconds out of my way.
Mm-hmm.
But we just don't pick it up normally. Also, difference in the route, I am not going to do the quiz. So 23312, in case you were wondering. But we're not doing it because we're not going to get slip run.
This makes me very sad.
I hope you all are getting hyped, though. We're going to Greentown. We're almost there.
Do you think it's possible to get a sub 1 drop the base?
I don't know what my time currently is or how close I am, so...
I don't remember what time we normally get here.
I was going to go pick it up. Alright, so I'm going to do an edit. And it's going to be complicated and different than what I normally do, so forgive me if I take a little bit of time. But we want to go ahead and put in as many... I'm going to actually go ahead and sort by element, because I just want to pull out every chip that's a bad element that I can, and hopefully I have enough replacements, otherwise I'm going to just start putting in star code things. This is bad, and that's fine. So we got some recovers. I'll probably put that in, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll put L code back in, because why not? How am I doing? Only one to go. Great. Well, Buster Up's a good one. So the reason I'm doing this is because we really just want to draw as many... Crackshot Reg is fine. As many null element chips as we possibly can for the upcoming base fight. You can sub 1 base? You probably could. I'm still a ways from the fight itself, though.
What is there sum of best for circuit?
Normally I would not be taking chips here, because we'd just copy damage and heat bust. But I have chips and I don't have copy damage, which feels kind of weird. Copy damage saves us a lot of time here, because I can just tag any one of these viruses and shoot another one, and it takes care of the fight practically instantly. Heat Cross is a little busted, especially when everything is weak to fire. But unfortunately, I don't have copy damage, so we're going to have to do something different, and that is actually doing the fights the way they're somewhat intended. We also needed to get that extra money, because I need to pay this guy 1,000 zennies to tell me the answer to the riddle to get through to the next area. Which isn't a riddle, it's what happens if you hit a Mr. Prog on the head, chat? What's the punishment? And it's clearly something very infuriating that you will never know.
The last time he got so mad.
So, death sentence. That's bold. I might actually be able to get these guys in one. It depends on where that thing walks. It goes up though, right? No, down. I maybe should have bought a full HP in case I take a bunch of damage on the way there. It's probably fine.
Well, BM1 speedruns weren't always manipulated. There was actually someone got, perhaps multiple people got sub 2 hours in BN1 without manipulation before it was discovered.
So we're actually just straight up ignoring where I'm supposed to be going, which is to get my paths so that I'm allowed into the... Oh, I keep trying to take the copy damage that isn't there. because I'm not going to need that pass. We're not going to enter the courtroom. Instead, we're going to go find the tree, and hidden behind the tree is a portal to the Undernet. This is also a fun way to go and get either absolutely demolished by viruses that you aren't capable of handling yet, or a bunch of really powerful chips, depending on how well you are set up for doing a quick little Undernet dive. I think if you have the Virus Battler, you can even get some, like, crazy stuff out of that once you have unlocked the rare viruses.
Don't remember if there's one in 0 or not. Probably is. There's viruses in almost every area, I'm pretty sure.
Wow, that was 100 damage. Wish I didn't take that. It'll make things a little trickier. That's okay. We'll be fine, chat. I'm not worried. But I have noticed that you all aren't quite hype enough for me. So we are going to use the magic of the emulator here to generate a little hype. First, I promised that I would show you guys how we skip encounters in the green area. So this is PavilComp 2, which is the green area rendition of the post-game or the boss rush dungeon. And normally what you're supposed to do is walk across all of the panels, and as you do so, the grass shows up underneath you, and you have to do this little puzzle where you walk without repeating on any of the grass tiles to press all the buttons. Because if you step on grass, this gavel comes out of nowhere and grabs you, and he drags you back to the start, and you have to redo the whole comp after he takes a significant portion of your HP away. And this is very disappointing. However, we can do better than that. So I recently, in this one, acquired the slip run program. As you can see, I can jet myself across in a straight line until I hit a wall. And we're going to abuse that for a little bit of fun. This is called Capel Skip. Oh, I screwed up though, actually. It's okay. We have the magic of emulators. We can do it again. Alright, so that's Capel Skip. Then we would fight Judge Man, but I'm not interested in showing you guys Judge Man. I'm interested in showing you more skips. So here's Judge Tree 3, going back in time to the previous Judge Man fight. Normally, we would have gone all the way around this big area. In fact, I can show you. We can look around. So I would have walked in here, pressed a button in that area, come over to here, and then had to go all the way back and around, and then up to fight Judge Man, who's waiting for us over there. But we can just double back. This is called Celine Dion Skip, named such because, I don't know, Celine Dion something or other. That actually saves an encounter on a regular basis because you don't have to do all that walking. Here's another example. Up to this point, I have followed the rules exactly, and right here, I'm supposed to hit this button, and then this one, loop all the way out and around, this one, and then come back. That is likely to get me another encounter. So this one is called the Lurking Skip because Lurking discovered it by playing poorly one day. And, unfortunately it didn't work. There's a chance there. You'll notice that gavel appeared right in my face. If you pick up that blue mystery data, which I did, he can have his AI screwed up and go a completely different way and you can dodge him. That's a pretty low chance that it happens. So I got a little unlucky there. This is what it usually looks like. That will also save us encounter. So that's how you do all of the different skips in green area where, again, things are mostly just a suggestion in MMBN6, especially in these dungeons. Now, you guys still aren't hype enough, so it's time to get on the hype train, chat. As a special viewing pleasure just for you, we are going to do the Charge Man scenario before I drop the base. I bet you didn't know you could play as a train in this game, chat. Actually, maybe you guys did. But let's play as Train Man. Yes, on the hype train. Time to get all the progs. Speedrunning this scenario, you actually just fire your charge as soon as you possibly can in every scenario. It's as soon as it charges up. It's very difficult to lose, so we just constantly fire. The first ones are pretty easy. It gets a little trickier towards the end of the third one, but really, I mean, this is easy. And hype, I'm a train.
I believe these are also not random, correct?
They're, I think they're somewhat. Honestly, I don't know.
I believe they're completely fixed fields.
Bam, we're in Sky Area, chat. Who wants to go again? I do. Yeah, the charge beast is pretty silly looking. Oop, I got hit. Red face is more hype, chat. We're gonna farm red faces. Also, there's Metars on the train tracks coming up soon. They like to move. We can run them over. Your goal in this scenario is to not run into anything other than progs, and if you miss 4 things, either by hitting rocks or Metars or missing passengers, you lose and have to redo it, but I'm too good for that. Boom, round 2, goal. Alright, final hype train. Here we go. Going back to the undernet from Central. You also notice that the maps rolls along a little bit faster as we get going to the higher levels, so the charging all the time is less useful in this one. It still gives you a very small speed boost, but if you wanted to play safe, which I don't, you could, in fact, not be charging constantly. Whoops, that was 2 in a row. Maybe I should play safe. To charge through those rocks. And these ones. Alright. Exactly. We got enough red. I think that's good, chat. Look at all those happy, satisfied, hyped customers. In fact, I'll go so far as to give you guys what the Chargeman fight looks like. This one's a blast. Spoilers, I have a couple other ones going on, but literally all you do Are you having fun yet, chat? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. This is hype. This is high quality Mega Man content.
I want to point out that you can do this exact same thing to his EX form and his SP form, although for the SP form he moves slightly too fast the first charge shot, so you have to crack shot him first.
Yeah.
And it'll actually get you under 30 seconds, so you'll usually get an SP chip. Unless he randomly hits you with one of the lobbed projectiles.
Now that you are all sufficiently hyped, without further ado, let's see if I can drop a base. Oh, which we didn't actually talk about the fight at all, in hindsight. So the strategy is we're going to beast out, because each of our charge shots is going to do 200 damage. The scariest attack that he has is that buster attack. So I'm going to be waiting pretty much every time for him to either launch that buster or something else, so that I can minimize the amount of damage I'm taking. Unfortunately, I did jump into Hell's Rolling. Wow, I got wrecked. It's okay, through the magic of emulation, I can do it again. So I'm not using Undershirt to make sure that I have the full 200 damage, which means it is a little risky. And we'll get deaded occasionally, maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hell's Rolling. Oh, that was bad. Not cooperating draws here either. Very disappointing. Maybe I'll be able to improv something. Have to. Streamers cheating. What are you talking about? This is a totally valid and super serious speedrun. He's gonna buster me. Wow, I just dodged all of the buster. Alright, unfortunately, we're kind of tired now, so we'll just have to switch back to playing normally. And I think this is a counter hit. Maybe not. Whatever, I'll stun lock him for a little while. Done. Base dropped. And that's time for our super serious speedrun category in which we gavel skipped and saw a charge man.
Awesome.
I hope you all had as much fun as I did. Once again, this was super serious, drop the base percent, Mega Man Battle Network 6 Gregar. I am the last. Thank you so much to Arathar, my co-commentator, and TeamBN for letting me close out a wonderful day of gaming and fun.
Yes, we had lots of cool stuff. It was a very cool run.
Unfortunately, I don't have the dab mod. There is a Falzar version with a dab mod that you can make a Mega Man dab, but... Oh, soft lock? I don't know if I have a good soft lock location to showcase.
I believe the robot dog would work.
The robot dog? Okay, so pick one of these.
Or actually the statue in Greentown, it's kind of up from the left bus.
Alright. Magic of emulators, chat. Let's go fast.
Oh, or the statue in the pavilion actually is what I usually use.
Oh, I can't go in that way. Alright, where are we going? Greentown?
The robot dog will work.
Oh, the robot dog?
There should be a prog in there.
Wrong left bus. Okay, so I showcased a little bit earlier while we were running around being chased by a gavel for how we have this slip run capability. I have a turbo GBA, yes. Magic of emulator, chat. And it's a really sweet ability. We can move around very quickly, and I'm automatically running. I have hands-off lazy mode. I don't need to hold B anymore. But there's an extra special ability that we have, which is if you slip and talk to a program or a Navi or anything like that at the same time, you enter this slip walk state that we call it. The game thinks I am slipping. I currently can't get into encounters. I also can't pause the game or jack out or do anything along those lines. The only buttons that work for me right now are direction keys A and B. So A lets me talk to things again. Cool. If I run into a wall, my slip will end and there will be an encounter check, or I can press B to exit early. But what happens if you touch a warp? We soft lock. And on that note, thanks again. All you can do is reset.
I should also mention that this glitch does not work on the Virtual Console version. So, thank you all very much for watching. Thank you again, Last, for doing the run.
Absolutely.
You all enjoyed the, I don't know what to call this, the stream. The race, I had a lot of fun watching the very fragmented bits that I got to. I hope Eden went well, because that game's super cool. A reminder that One Step from Eden comes out on the 26th, and Nick King's Call showed off their stuff. And I actually thought that game was a pretty cool idea. It was the first time I've seen it, actually. But yeah, that was super cool too. I don't know the commands. There we go. And I'll also do Discord. If you're interested in Battle Network speedruns, the TeamBN Discord's the place to go. And find or watch, or find or learn more about speedruns there pretty easily. Most of the community is happy to help if you have any questions. I would recommend trying to contact a specific runner for that game. If you just ask generally on the Discord, there's going to be a bit of a mix of vague and meme answers, but people are happy to help usually. I'm not sure what our plans are for the team channel coming up, but we're going to be trying to do a little bit more content when we have ideas for content. So on that note, I guess yes, my name is the same on Discord. It's still Aerothar. I am Aerothar everywhere at the moment. If there's anything you guys want to see on the team stream, you can let us know that too on the Discord, and maybe we'll do it. Other than that, thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time.